It's official!
Welcome to another episode of Legally Unapologetic. I am your host, Octavia Green. Y'all, I am so excited about this week's episode. Now, this week I'm sitting down with entrepreneur, lawyer, boss, mom, superwoman, Sophia Ward, Esquire. Now, Sophia has decided to come onto our platform to discuss not only how she maintains a successful law practice, but how she's been able to tap into some of her other passions outside of the law. That's right, she's an experienced trial attorney and partner at one of the most known minority-owned law firms in the country. But she's been able to tap into some of her other passions that have led to not only other business ventures, but yes, lucrative income outside of the law. She's a social media content queen, well known on platforms such as IG and TikTok. She's gone viral and she's even been reposted by Tina Knowles. Lawyering is what we do, it's not who we are. And this week, Sophia and I are going to talk about the importance of tapping into some of those other interests. Making sure that you're exploring some of your other passions because it can truly lead you to your purpose. But you'll also hear us talk about imposter syndrome. That's right, some things just cannot be ignored. And whether you are killing it in a courtroom, writing a monster brief, or even opening up some of your own businesses, imposter syndrome does exist. Now, Sophia and I are going to tackle just that, and you'll hear how she has to remind herself that she belongs in the spaces that she's in. Whether it's being a partner of a law firm, whether it's being a kick-ass mom and wife, or whether it's being a social content creator. Whatever room that she walks in, she knows that she belongs there. And although it's a daily reminder, she does remind herself of just that in order to push through. I'm excited about this week's episode, and I hope you are too. Without further ado, let's get into it. Welcome to another episode of Legally Unapologetic. All right, Sophia, welcome to Legally Unapologetic. First off, let me say thank you so much for agreeing to come onto this platform. Our relationship stems back to law school, or when I was in law school. So I think that you've been able to see my progression and my growth, not only from a student, but also now a working professional, and now a content creator and podcaster. Funny story, guys. I wish you guys could have seen the setup that's happening in the background before we went live. Sophia did not come to play. She brought 2 cameras with her, as well as making sure that the lighting was on point. So today's episode is going to be a great one. But like I said, let's start just going back to how our relationship started. I was a little law school student, very stressed, very nervous. Every time Sophia would see me, she just was like, okay, let me surround this child with love because I don't know if she's going to make it. And, that's exactly what she did. I greatly appreciate you because, like I said, you've seen the progression and the growth. And now here we are working professionals. This is what, 10 years deep?
Ooh, it's been a minute.
10 years deep. When I think about you and I think about, the words I would use to describe you, like superwoman, right? Wife, mom, lawyer, entrepreneur, boss, all in that order. So I'm excited to have you on the podcast today. As I mentioned, you've had a very, very successful career. And I just kind of want to give you the space to let the listeners know about your background, your legal background, who you are, what you do, all that good stuff.
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you for having me. I'm humbled to be here, and I'm extremely proud of you.
Thank you.
You're doing your thing. Like you said, we go back. So I know you from that lowly law student, that, timid, and you just grew like a butterfly. So I'm very proud of you, and I'm excited to be here. I am Sophia Ward. I am an attorney, wife, mom. I've been practicing since 2010. I'm originally from Oakland, California. I have a big family. I'm one of 8 So, you know, I have a big family. I moved away from California, went to Miami for law school, where I met my husband, and we lived there for about 13 years. That's where I met you, obviously. Went to University of Miami, and then transitioned to Atlanta. And now I live in Atlanta. I've been practicing, like I said, since 2010. I'm a partner at my firm, and
a boss.
And a content creator now.
So that's what we're going to get into that, right? Because you just said, you know, you ran us your resume, successful partner now in private practice. Prior to that, you know, you were a successful litigator, public defender, having tried over 40 plus cases. You then transitioned to private practice as a experienced trial attorney. And, you know, that's just on the law side, sis. The reason I wanted to bring you onto this space is because you've been able to actually tap into some of your other interests. You are a content creator. I think you and Ian have several different business ventures together, so you're keeping it all in the family while also practicing law, being a great mom, and also being a wife. How do you do it all? Please enlighten us.
Okay, so first, God, because I have to pray, you know. I mean, it takes a lot of patience, a lot of coffee. You know, I love my coffee. That's first and foremost. But just, you know, just a lot of organization. I'm still trying to figure it out. So when you say balance, there's really no true balance. You're just trying to give yourself to your family, to your husband, to your job. You're never 100%, and that's the hardest part because you kind of just have to balance it all and give it the best you can, you know. So that's the biggest struggle because I'm used to just giving something my all and just doing what I need to do, and you can't do that all the time, right? You got to stop working at a certain time because you got to go get the kids, right? You have a deadline. You can't just finish that. You got to come back to it. Or your husband needs something, but the kids get sick. Or, you know, there's just a balancing act consistently. So I would never say it's fully balanced. You just try to do your best. And I try to stay organized. I have like I have like 3 planners. One for my personal life, one for content creating, and one for my work. So it's just a lot of planning. I think about it all the time, like, okay, this is what I'm doing on Mondays. This is what I mean. It's just constant, girl. It's constant.
No, I can imagine. Look, I you know, struggle to walk my dog some days, but that's, you know, another story. But, you know, with that being said, I do have to ask you, like, life as an attorney, especially a Black woman attorney, is busy. You know, you've been able, and you've elevated rather to, and you've made it into that 2% of Black women partners who are able to actually succeed in this space and in this profession. So why then would you tap into other business ventures? Not saying that it's a bad thing. I you know, definitely commend you, and I'm always in awe. But I do have to ask, why take on so much more or put so much more on yourself?
So I didn't just say, all right, I'm going to go ahead and start this business, because I didn't have time to start a business, okay? So I kind of just stumbled on it, to be honest with you. It just happened. So let's just back up a little bit. So I lived in Miami with my husband, and we always talked about moving to Atlanta, but you know, you got to take the bar exam. Everything has to be perfect, right? You got to get everything lined up. And then the pandemic happened. So we were living in Brickell in a 2-bedroom condo with 2 kids. And it was all good when there wasn't a pandemic. But once the pandemic hit, it was like, okay, well, we're working on this, you know, table in the living room, at the dining room table, and the kids are playing outside on the balcony. We got to, let's go get some space. So luckily, my dad actually bought a house in Atlanta. So we were like, let's just go up there. He wasn't living there. He just bought it. He was going to retire. Let's just go there. Let's just get away for like a week. Okay. So we did that. A week turned into forever because we never went back. We're like, all this space, let me see something. Hold on. So we ended up staying and buying a house. All right. So now we're living in Atlanta. I'm away from my friends. I never got to say bye. Right. I'm working remotely, so I'm not in the office anymore. I'm not seeing people. I'm not getting that one-on-one contact. I'm with kids all day during the pandemic, and I had young kids at the time. I mean, 4 months. I'm breastfeeding. You know, my son is now 5. He was 3 at the time, maybe 3 at the time. So I had a 3-year-old and like a 5-month-old. So breastfeeding and just doing the whole 9, while trying to make my billable hours. I'm hiding in the closet taking depositions on some days because they're making all types of noises. It was rough. And so, I'm trying to juggle that and make my hours and still do what I had to do. And so a lot of times I'm staying up till like 5 o'clock in the morning trying to get my work done, waking up, handling the kids and just trying to balance that. So long story short, it was just a lot at the time, and I felt like I needed an outlet. Mm-hmm. So I just needed something less serious, right? What's less serious? We couldn't go nowhere. The legal world is very serious. I'm dealing with my kids. So I was like, well, let me just hop on social media. Let me just get a little outlet, do something fun, not take it serious, whatever. Let me just post some pictures, post some videos. I started with cooking. Mm-hmm. I enjoy cooking, so I started doing that and just started putting stuff out there. And then I just started growing, and I realized I was reaching a lot of women who could relate to what I was going through at the time, because I was, we're all going through the same thing at the time. And it was just empowering just to be able to reach out to other women and, just have that community.
Right.
And so it just started with that, growing a community and just having fun, really, because it was just an outlet for me. And so it's something that just grew by itself. I didn't plan. I didn't say, let me, get on Instagram or whatever, even TikTok, because I was completely against that. I wasn't a TikToker.
You wasn't a TikToker?
I wouldn't call myself a TikToker now, but it is what it is, But I ended up getting on those platforms, growing an audience and enjoying it, loving it, and it turned into a full business.
Right. And I mean, I think it's important for you to tap into those interests, right? Because to your point, our jobs are so serious. And a lot of times, we can get stuck in this space where we're not really tapping into these other interests, whatever they may be, however big or small they may be. So I definitely commend you for that, because that's kind of important for your sanity as well.
Oh, yeah.
Being able to step away from the practice and say, okay, on today I'm gonna do something that I love. And even if it's a matter of making this meal, guess what? Y'all gonna get this content. And you give us this content. I've been amazed. I'm not a mom. I couldn't necessarily relate with the kids and things of that nature, but I be tuning in too. And like during the pandemic, it's like, okay, what we doing? Yeah. And we had some jokes too. I think that during the pandemic, remember the push-up challenge? Like, she sent me a personal trainer, y'all. Yeah. She's like, please go show this girl how to do a push-up. So it goes it goes to show the reach that you have through social media outlets, but the fact that you've now been able to turn that into a full business. So that's one business venture. I want to get into the other business ventures with you and your husband, because I think that's important too, and it probably is a way for you guys to stay connected despite, because he's an attorney as well.
Yes.
So despite the craziness that goes on in you guys' respective professional lives. Excuse me.
So when my husband, when we moved down, he was with a firm, but then he decided to go off on his own and open up his own law firm with a business partner in 2021. So that was one of the businesses that he ended up opening. And then we got into a trucking business as well.
Okay.
So we ended up, starting that company, I believe in 2021. So just, trying to just go outside of our normal nine to five or working for someone else, just having an extra income coming in that you can control with, no necessarily, there's no ceiling. You can just kind of just do what you want, have your own schedule. So really, it was a mindset shift.
Okay.
Because I'm the soldier. I'm like, I gotta go to work. I gotta get my hours. I'm gonna build 220. I'm gonna do what I gotta do because I gotta make my firm proud. I'm gonna do what I gotta do. I'm gonna be the star. I've always been a hard worker. I made partner in a year within being at my firm.
Say it again for the people. Within a year, right?
I was grinding. I was, and my husband will call me, you're a soldier. I'm like, it's just my job. That's what I know to do. Work hard. You get where you need to, get.
Right.
But it was really a mindset shift just to kind of do something for yourself outside of your normal 9 to 5. It was just, it's liberating, really. You're just doing your own thing.
And I was going to say, why is that so important to you? Because you just said like a mind shift and doing something for yourself. Like, I really want to focus on that self piece. Like, why is that so beneficial?
I think it's, sometimes you can feel stuck, I think. You can feel stuck, especially as an attorney, because you're licensed. You have the license, right? So if you're moving to Georgia, you don't have your license here. Don't you feel stuck? I mean, I'm at a firm where, you know, I'm not licensed in Georgia. I'm working remotely. So sometimes you could feel stuck, like you can't maneuver if you wanted to, right? So if you got to a point where I need to go, or I need to do what I need to do, it got to a point where you feel like you can't do that because you don't have that freedom. I mean, I can go study for the bar, but who really wants to do that, girl?
Look, I did it. I understand, right?
So I think it's just good to have your own thing, just knowing that you can bring in your own money, you know, and still have your job.
Right. And I mean, I think you're doing it the right way. You know, I think there's two ways to do this, right, guys? Everybody knows my story, knows how I transitioned. I had a FU fund, right? And I think that's important. But there's so many people who are starting new businesses. You know, the trend of Black women that are becoming entrepreneurs right now, sky high, and is only continuing to increase. So you have these people that are able to scale businesses, start businesses, scale them, and then, okay, if I want to step back from the practice of law, I can do that. Right. But then there's this subsection of people that's just stuck. And they probably are so unhappy, but yet what are they gonna do? You know, where can I go? Maybe I haven't saved the money like I need to. Haven't had time to think about a side hustle or a business because I'm so busy billing $220. How can I possibly think about something else or doing something for myself? I just want to sleep. I just want to make it to the next morning. That's hard. I commend you because I know you're still billing $210. I know you're still billing $210. Okay, well, she's a partner now. She got that little, a little flex now. But you get what I'm saying? Like, you are still billing your hours. You're still, showing up. I see it on social media. I know when you're still doing mediation and depositions all remotely while also managing your household and also being, a boss on the side.
It's a lot, though.
Yeah.
It's not easy. It's, it's a lot of work, and you gotta be patient.
Right. Well, then mentally, how do you check in?
Girl, I'm still working on that part because
let's talk about it.
It's a lot. It's a lot. It's definitely a lot. You do have to check in, and I have always been that strong friend. I've never really had anything nothing like that. So I've never had to really. I'm just a go hard queen. That's just what my friends see me. Just go, you work, you'll go get what you want, you do what you go. But there's some point where you gotta kind of just take care of yourself because you know what's gonna happen at the end of the day. You're gonna burn out. It's real. You're gonna do. I don't care how much you think you can just keep going. At some point, you gotta take care of yourself. You really do. You gotta go outside, take these walks, take the hour in the morning for yourself. Just meditate. Whatever you gotta do. You gotta spend time with your friends. All of that is important, and I realized that during the pandemic, like how much I need my friends, because I was always around my friends, so it wasn't really anything that I knew, okay, I just need to be around my friends, but it was like once I had that missing, I was like, oh man, I need that. I need to, make sure I'm doing what I need to do for myself, because you're always pouring into your family and your business and your job, and it's just like, you gotta take time for yourself. So I'm still working on that because I know it's important, but it's just one day at a time, but just doing little things for yourself throughout the day, making sure you set time aside to do things for yourself, and you have to set boundaries. I set boundaries. I don't work on weekends.
That part.
So because I work hard during the week. So you got me all week. Obviously, if there's trial,
Right. With exceptions, I get it.
With exceptions, but I have certain boundaries. I have to go pick up my kids at a certain time. But I started early, so you have me all day, But I got to do what I have to do. I got to set boundaries for myself. But it's still a work in progress. It is.
Well, we're going to stay on that. Because, you gave us nuggets on what we should be doing. But now I know I'm going to have to check in with Sophia to make sure she's doing it. Because you are balancing a lot. And I mean, you're doing a damn good job at it. So don't ever, take that for granted. I know you know that. And I'm sure everybody around you, sees it, So kudos and just keep it up because, again, superwoman. And I tell you that. I slide DMs all the time. Superwoman. What are you doing today, Sophia? Superwoman.
It catches up to you though, like I said, because I'm like, I need to slow down. I can't stay up anymore like I used to. I used to stay up till 4.
Well, sis, we're getting a little old too, you know. So, with everything that's expected of you, mom, wife, partner, you know, I'm sure you have associates that you are managing. Do you think at times people expect too much of you? And if so, how do you manage that?
That is really tough because I think people expect 100% from you, right? They, you know, at work they expect you to put in 100%. That's your job. As a mom, you're expected to put 100% into your kids. As a wife, as a friend, return my text, you know, on time. So that gets really hard because I'm only one person trying to get 100% to this and that and this and that, and that's when it can get very overwhelming because I never feel like I can give 100%. And I'm a 100% type of giver. I want to, but I can never give. Sometimes I feel like I'm giving 80 over here and 20 over here and, you know, 15 over here. And sometimes I feel like it's never enough. Right? And so I might be disappointed in my job one day. I might be disappointed in a friend one day because I didn't return a text message in time or, you know, whatever. I might be disappointed in my kids one day because they want to play and I can't. I got a deadline. You know, it's tough. That's tough.
No, I can imagine. But what would you say to someone who? Because I've heard that from several women. You know, I've heard CEOs say, "One day I'm going to be a bomb ass CEO, but I might be a bad mom that day." Or in the inverse, I might be a good mom, but guess what? I was a horrible boss that day. So for women that may be dealing with something that's similar or having those similar feelings, what would you say to them?
I would say this. I think this is important, that you're not being a bad mom. You're not being a bad boss, right? You're giving 100% of you, and that's enough. Because once you start talking down on yourself, saying, "Oh, I'm being a bad mom," or "I'm being a bad," that adds up. What do you think that's doing to your confidence and your self-esteem or whatever?
And your productivity level.
You know, you got to remember you are that girl, right? Keep that confidence every single day. Talk life into yourself. Don't talk down on yourself and say, "Oh, I'm not doing a good job. Oh man, I can do better," because that will eat away at you at some point, right?
I get that.
You got to just know, like, I'm doing my best. All right, I know my kids don't understand right now. I got to get this deadline. This is a federal deadline. You know, they'll be okay today. Tomorrow we'll go to the park or whatever. But don't talk down on yourself. You're doing an amazing job.
What advice would you give to anyone that may feel like, you know, damn, I got other interests out there. I want to tap into those other interests. Maybe I even want to start a business, but I'm not sure I can in the midst of practicing law.
Okay. Well, first of all, we need to talk about imposter syndrome a little bit.
Okay.
Because I think that happens to the best of us. And we don't talk about it enough, or maybe we do, but we don't
talk about it enough.
We don't know what's happening enough, right? You have a thought in your head that you want to do something, but you just don't act on it because you just think you're not good enough, or you start doubting yourself, or you know, you start letting those negative thoughts come in. It's very important, like I said, to speak life into yourself, knowing that you can do anything that you want to do. But imposter syndrome, it really gets the best of, I think, a lot of people. You can own your own firm, you could become partner within a year, whatever it is, right? But at the end of the day, you're still gonna be like, am I good enough, or do I belong here? You know, even as a content creator, I'm like, what am I doing? You know, like, am I supposed to be here? You know, and I've gone viral. I've been on like Nick Cannon's show. I had Beyonce Mama repost my
Miss Tina reposted you.
I love her.
Oh, shout out Miss Tina, repost Legally Unapologetic.
You know, and I've had stuff like 14 million views, and I will sit back, like, I will disappear because I'm like, I'm not supposed to really be here. So let me just back up a little bit. No, you're supposed to be here. You need a seat at this table. You deserve a seat at that table. You got this.
Well, I would also question, why not you? You know, I think too often we don't look at it from that perspective.
I think for me, I've always been the legal, right? I've always been, I went to school. I'm going to go be an attorney. This is what I do, right? I've never tapped into that creative side. It's always that analytical side. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. So now that I'm on this side, I'm like, I'm not the one with the camera and taking pictures. Well, I've always had a camera and taking pictures, but but I've never considered myself the creative, right? There's people who live, they're artists, and they're the creatives, right? I've never gave myself that title, so now I have that title as content creator. I'm like, it's kind of scary because you're tapping into something completely different. But so it's easy to let imposter syndrome creep in a little bit, and so it's important. I think if someone has a thought of doing something outside of their norm, the fact that that thought is even creeping in your head is enough for you to tap into it, right?
That means you're supposed to be doing it.
Tap into it, like figure out what it is that you're supposed to be doing, figure out your passion. Not everything is about work, there's another side to it. And just see what you like to do and figure it out, and don't let imposter syndrome creep in.
I like that. I greatly appreciate that piece. I need to hear that, right? Because even with this whole podcasting thing, I mean, I'm a new podcaster. I'm figuring it out each and every day. And it's kind of funny how you said we have that lawyer side of our brain. People were getting on me about even starting this because it had to be perfect because that was the lawyer side.
Yeah.
And now it's like,
oh, that's tough.
Girl, just go do it because it's going to change. There's been several like changes that I've made and just production wise or interviews or my first episode. Like, people don't realize that last 2 minutes was a freestyle last minute. Right before I like pressed send, I was like, I don't like the way this ended. Let me go ahead and record something, and boom, there it is. So thank you for sharing that. You definitely, inspiring me too, because again, I think it's important to bring us all together in spaces like this, to lean on each other, to support each other, to embrace each other, celebrate each other.
I think there's more of us than we realize. We all need each other, you know what I'm saying? So I really appreciate you starting this podcast and creating this community and a safe space for people to talk. We're all dealing with, I think we're all relatable some way, and we're all dealing with the same issues, and it's good to talk about it.
Okay, so before I let you go, please tell the people where they can find you.
So on Instagram, I'm Sophia__Renee, and on TikTok, I'm the Sophia Renee.
Okay.
2 underscores.
2 underscores. Got it. But look, sis, I greatly appreciate you. Thank you so much for coming on to this episode of Legally Unapologetic.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much. It's an honor to be in your presence. So thank you.
There you have it. First off, I have to thank Sophia for stopping by, coming onto my platform. As you guys heard, our relationship stems back from me being in law school. And yes, she did show a lot of love then, but she's also showing a lot of love now. I greatly appreciate your support, sis. Greatly appreciate you coming on and telling your story. Greatly appreciate you coming on and inspiring not only myself, but I'm sure our listeners and our viewers. Not only are you a successful boss within the firm, having a successful law practice and hella experience as a trial attorney, but you're not afraid to tap into some of your other passions, which have led you to lucrative incomes. I am so proud of you. I'm proud to see what you're doing. But most importantly, I thank you for encouraging other people to tap into other things that may very well interest them. I believe Oprah had a quote. Don't believe, I know. Actually, it's in my office here at my home. But Oprah once said to follow your passion because it will lead you to your purpose. Now, I do believe that lawyering, and through lawyering, we provide a great service. And a lot of times we are servicing clients and providing results where needed. But I also think that in today's age, we have so many different interests. And a lot of times it's important to actually look into those interests and see what they are. A side hustle, there's nothing wrong with it, y'all. Sometimes it's much needed, especially as you look to see how you can navigate these different spaces. I have to thank this week's guest, Sophia, for coming through. Again, you guys heard her story. You see how she's following her passions, and I encourage you, do something for yourself. Tap into some of your passions and see what it is that you may like that might be outside of the law. It may also give you a little bit of freedom and also provide a little bit of happiness. My passion, creating content for you guys. And I'm so glad that I'm able to do so on a consistent basis. I challenge y'all to tap into some of your interests. Figure out what it is that you're interested in. What do you enjoy? And if you are thinking about doing something, I encourage you to go ahead and get started. A lot of us have different interests outside of law. And unfortunately, let's just be honest, we feel stifled and we don't get around to starting that podcast. We don't get around to writing that blog. We don't get around to volunteering for some of the things and the causes that matter to us. But why not? Passions lead to purpose. In the next couple of weeks, take some time. Jot down some of the things that interest you. And if you have been contemplating getting started, just go ahead and do it. I encourage you all to just get started. I want to hear from you guys. Make sure that you are following us on our social media handles. We could be followed on IG, Legally Unapologetic. We're also streaming video over on YouTube, so make sure y'all subscribe to that channel. We have more content that's coming, more episodes to follow. I have to thank y'all for tuning into this week's episode of Legally Unapologetic, and I'll see you soon.